Welcome to part 10, adding radio buttons above the map. So we're going to allow our users to choose the coloring of the map with 4 radio buttons. The DCC library, which we've been using, does have a radio buttons component, but we're not going to use it. We're going to turn to this third-party library called Dash Bootstrap Components. So this library has many more nicely styled components for Dash. And the reason we're going to use the radio buttons over here is that it has this label checked style attribute, which allows us to apply a separate style to the checked label. So one of the 4 radio buttons will be selected, and we'll be able to apply a separate style to the one that is selected. The radio button in DCC does not allow for that. So this library is built using Bootstrap, which you might have heard of. It's a very popular CSS and JavaScript library. So let's go ahead and look at this code below. We're only going to create the radio buttons, and let's go ahead and execute this. So if you see here, the layout is just the radio items, so you can see what they look like. So here we have these 4 options, and we've imported Dash Bootstrap components like this, and the way it works is very similar to DCC. You can sort of plug one in and the other one out and have very similar functionality. The code should not change very much. So the way you create each of the options is with this options parameter. You set it equal to a list of dictionaries. So the dictionaries have the label and the value. So the label is what is visibly seen, and the value is the internal value. In this case, we've just made it the same for both. So that's how you create each of the options. Then you have here is a default value, so that will be death, so it'll be set like this. I'll give it an ID. The style, so notice we use a flex box display. So by default, the radio items will be vertical. If we make them flex, then they will be horizontal. And then we use this justify content to space them out evenly, provided a background color and so forth. Now, the reason we chose this radio items in Dash Bootstrap components and not DCC is because it allows us to add specific style whenever something is checked. So we're going to make the color of the word white and the font a little bit more bold. So if we go over here, and you can see here's the normal color when it's not checked, and here's that's just the background color. So if we go here, you can see that now it turns to white, and then it goes back to its normal color. All right, so let's actually use this in our application. So that was just the radio buttons by themselves. So what we'll do here is with the map graph, we'll place the radio items, which we just created. So we're going to use that same variable, and we're going to wrap it in a div. So we're going to put the radio items with the graph, right? So here's the graph that we created above, and then we put it inside the container. So our major container has the table tabs, which are the data tables on the left, the graph tabs, which are on the upper right, and now this map div, which has the radio items together with the map graph, and we're going to place it. We're going to assign the grid area to be that maps, which is on the bottom right over here. So let's go ahead and run this, and so it should show up right above the map like that. It does not have any functionality right now. You can just click it, nothing will happen. There's a little bug in Dash where you have to set the style of each of the graphs over here in the upper right hand corner so that it fills out more of the screen. It does not do this automatically, unfortunately. Okay, so that is it for adding radio buttons above the maps.